Over the next 30 days, I'm gonna see if I can platinum 30 games while also working a full-time job. And if I fail at doing this challenge, I'll platinum the game that is the top comment on this video. And for day one, I'm gonna start this challenge with... To kick the challenge off, I decided to do a throwback to a game I hadn't played in a very long time, Spyro the Dragon. This game was a great way to kick off the challenge as it was a really easy platinum to get. You basically just need to play through the game, and man, was this a great nostalgia trip. I'm excited to now play the rest of the series again. The only hard missions were the flying missions where you need to do several tests on the map to clear them while flying around and not hitting the water. This is actually the reason that I didn't end up getting the platinum trophy on day one, but it set up for a solid day two. Going into day two, I was focused on wrapping up Spyro. And while I thought that would be easy, it took me much longer than I thought. I had to put another 7 hours into the game to finally get the platinum, taking in total about 14 hours. Those flying missions really messed me up, man. And I know, get good. But the fact that they were inverted controls and you can't change them really messed me up.
Oh my God, we finally did it. I believe it is time for me to fly. Wow. That one was crazy hard, dude. I think that one took me like 45 minutes.
Eventually, I was able to earn my first platinum of this challenge.
Okay, so this should be the final gear here is in this area. There it is. Should be a trophy and our platinum. What really grinds my gears and the platinum trophy, Nasty's Demise. There we go. Platinum for Spyro done, man. I definitely didn't beat this game when it first came out, but I'm glad that I came back and played it because this was a lot of fun.
The next game that I started was Astro's Playroom. Now, this is a game I actually deleted when I first bought my PS5 instead of playing it. And I can now confirm that that was an awful choice. This was an incredibly fun platformer and made me want to play Astrobot sooner rather than later. Running around the maps and finding little Easter eggs to all of the PlayStation games, both current and past, was such a fun experience. And the controls of this game were done insanely well, outside of the monkey climbing level, which actually took me a minute to figure out. Unfortunately, because of how long it took me to get the Spyro Platinum, I ended day two with only 1 platinum. Originally, I started this challenge on a Saturday, so this was my first working day during this challenge, and unfortunately, I had to work until 7 p.m. this day. After working 11 hours, I came home and jumped on after work, and after a little over an hour, I was able to get my second platinum of this challenge.
Here we go. The very far point, and that should be the platinum there. You've only done everything. Astro's Playroom done. Dude, this game was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was super lame. When I bought my PS5, I automatically deleted this off of it like as quickly as I could. This is very fun. I had a great time with this for what it is.
After Astro's Playroom, I wanted another short platinum I could go after, and I landed on the Gardens Between. This game was surprisingly more fun than I thought it would be. You play as 2 friends going on an adventure, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a fun puzzle game as the 2 friends deal with a life event that's happening to them by imagining this separate world that hints at their past friendship. This one took about 3 hours and got me back on track, earning my 3rd platinum of the challenge.
All right, so now we can kill the black bird. Heyo, game over, and that's the platinum. Platinum Garden. What a fun game, man. About 2.5 hours? Not bad at all.
On day 4, I decided to try something completely new. I'd purchased a PSVR 2 on sale during the holidays and really wanted to try Red Matter, which had gotten rave reviews on Reddit in the PSVR sub. I wish I had done a little bit more research on this though, because when I put the headset on to play, I could only make it about 40 minutes in before I felt like I was gonna blow chunks everywhere, and I got a massive headache. So day 4 was a wash because I had to go lay down. But the parts of the game I did see I really liked, and I wanted to try to finish this game. I was determined to finish Red Matter, so I jumped back in and started playing the space puzzle game. And thankfully this time I didn't feel as nauseous and had a great time with the playthrough. It's very atmospheric, and honestly exactly what I thought of when I thought of VR. Great graphics, good gameplay, and hyper immersive. It actually felt like I was in a building on Mars. And the story is very compelling as well as you go through it, making me want to play the second version of this game. Completing Red Matter let me earn my 4th platinum.
Oh, that's it. Platinum right there. Should be. This should be the platinum. Meet the Oh, that's cool. Meet the maker. Good job, agent. We did it. We got the platinum. Heck yeah, dude. First VR platinum. It's kind of cool. This is cool.
Since Red Matter only took me about 2 hours, I booted up my next platinum, and that was Donut County. In this game, you use a hole and swallow up the entire town. It was pretty simple platinum that really only had one trophy that gave me trouble, and that was beating the last boss without taking damage. But it was still fun regardless. The story was goofy, but didn't stick around too long, and because of that, I think it's something that every trophy hunter should try out.
And the platinum, flawless. Complete the boss fight without taking any damage. And all done. The platinum, baby.
As I'd gotten behind on my games because of the motion sickness in VR, I decided to stay up late on Thursday and play a game I'd heard nothing but extremely good things about, and that is Tacoma. This was another game set in space. Space fantasy games are definitely my favorite genre. I need to play the Mass Effect series at some point. However, this is not a space fantasy game. It's another puzzle game. And this one was a blast from beginning to end. Looking around the space station, replaying recordings to learn what happened to the crew, and just discovering everything there is on the space station was an absolute blast. This one took me about 2 hours to wrap up, and I'm really glad that I threw this into my challenge run. Definitely a high recommend for me.
Hardcore. Escaped Lunar Transfer Station, Tacoma, having recovered every AR record. Here we go. Master of Unlocking. Escaped Lunar Transfer Station, Tacoma, with having correctly opened every key lock. Perfectionist. There we go. Platinum trophy, baby.
Seeing as I had been behind almost every single day, I decided to play another game for platinum that's only about 25 minutes. Now you might be thinking, wow, Phippsy is playing Shovel War. This challenge is over. Well, I wouldn't consider this game shovelware in any way. It's just short. It has a story, and there are actual gameplay elements that you have to perform in the game that can be a little bit difficult, and that's Storm Boy. Storm Boy takes about 25 minutes to get through, and it's a journey of a boy who has something happen very negatively that impacts him. If I say too much more, it'll give away the story, and I'm really not trying to do that here. But anyone that's a pet lover, this one will pull your heartstrings, man. I completed this one at about 25 to 30 minutes, giving me my 7th platinum, and finally went to bed at 4 a.m. to go to work for my final day of the work week. For day 7, I wanted to go back and play a slightly longer game, and I had one that's been sitting in my backlog for months that I've really wanted to play, and that's Stray. Ironically enough, during this challenge, I rescued a stray cat at a park that was extremely thin and super friendly. We named him Slim Jim since he was just a skinny cat when we found him. But back to Stray. In Stray, you play as a cat who's trying to get back outside of a city that you've fallen into. And during that time, you learn more about what's happened to humanity in this world since it's completely different than the one that you and I know. This game has a couple trophies that actually gave me a pretty hard time. One of them is to get through the area towards the beginning of the game without taking any damage. And this took me way longer than I'd like to even mention. And the other is to speedrun the game in less than 2 hours. I ended up rolling credits at about 1:54 in, so not a whole lot of time to spare on getting this trophy. Overall, I really enjoyed this game, and I'm glad I finally got the platinum. We did end up adopting Jim out to some family friends since our main cat is kind of a giant jerk and would have bullied him constantly.
Please. I am Speed. Let's go. I am Speed, and then all done. There is the platinum. There is the platinum. Guys, look at this. 155.50.
With plenty of time left on my Saturday, I decided to go for another platinum I'd heard a lot of great things about. What Remains of Edith Finch. Man, where to start with this game? You play as Edith in this narrative story game who is going back to their family's old house in Washington State, which is where I actually grew up, trying to uncover a curse that's plagued her family for generations as everyone in her family seems to die. And they believe in this curse. Over the course of the game, you start to question whether it is a curse or if it's believing something bad will happen, so it does, while also broaching on mental health issues that come with living in a state of expecting something bad to happen. Overall, this took about 2.5 hours and was a great game to play for the trophy.
When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Loop-de-loop-de-loop. And that is the platinum trophy. All done. There we go. Dude, what a good game, man. This is a very, very good game.
I decided I wanted to do another throwback game, to one I'd played a ton as a kid on N64 and even in my town's local pizza place, Star Wars Episode 1 Racing. Jumping into this game, I instantly flashed back to being a kid and I was having an absolute blast. Zooming around as little Annie and winning races across multiple tracks was so much fun. The platinum is pretty straightforward. You win first place on every track, do a couple miscellaneous things once you unlock Sebulba, and then fully upgrade your pod, which takes about 4 to 6 hours to complete. However, I ended up having a glitch that was erasing my pod's upgrades when I would complete a race. It wasn't just needing to be repaired, but straight up swapping my parts in my machine. So when I got to the point where I should have been fully upgraded, I wasn't, and I couldn't purchase the parts anymore because the currency in this game is very limited. I looked on Reddit and saw that this is actually a glitch that happens in this older game, and the only way to fix it was to replay the entire story. So I did just that, and the glitch happened again. At this point, I was feeling pretty discouraged, and I was trying to wrap up so that I could go watch the Super Bowl, especially because my team was playing. So I quickly tried a third time, and once again had the glitch happen to me. So that meant my only option was to play through the game without upgrading any components and then purchase them at the very end when they become available. This made the game extremely difficult, but I was able to eventually get to the end, and on my fourth playthrough of the game, earned the trophy at 14 hours. That should have taken 4 to 6. This ended up actually ruining the experience of this platinum for me.
Okay, so this is literally all of the parts. Oh, you came, you looked around, you bought. Thank God, dude, we finally got that trophy. Holy cow. Now this is pod racing.
The day after the Super Bowl, I was exhausted. The Seahawks had won, and because of that, I couldn't fall asleep. So I came home and needed to lay down after work and just chill. In the late evening, I started my next game, which is Black the Fall. This is a side-scrolling atmospheric puzzle game where you are trying to escape from a communist regime. The atmosphere and the graphics worked really well in this game, and it was quite fun and pretty short. I think it took me a little over 3 hours to complete, and I was able to play it on my Portal while I laid on the couch and watched a movie to relax in the background. If you like puzzle games, this is definitely one that I'd recommend. It's quite a bit of fun, and it was pretty easy to get the plat. On this day, I ended up working about 12 hours at my day job, so I came back home pretty exhausted and wanted to try a shorter game. The one I chose was back in 1995. This game was supposed to take place in 1995, and you run through a story that doesn't really make any sense, if I'm being honest with you. The controls were janky, the visuals were cluttered, and it didn't really make sense a majority of the way through. This one took me about 2 hours to complete, but quite frankly, I wish I could get those 2 hours back. It's not one that I would recommend to play, and it's just all around not a great game. But it was another platinum to add to my list, and my 12th one in the challenge. 4 days without a platinum. Man, this was absolutely brutal. My company in the middle of February decided to completely change our territories and our sales leaders for some reason. So I got moved off of a team that was selling to East Coast companies sitting on the East Coast to now having Washington, which is 3 hours behind me, Alaska, which is 4 hours behind me, and Hawaii, which is 5 hours behind me, where I live in Florida. So that meant my work schedule had changed. And when I say that, I mean the time I left work, not go to work. So instead of being able to leave around 5 p.m., I was leaving at 7:30 or 8 o'clock every night. And when I got home, I had absolutely nothing left. I ended up passing on the couch several nights in a row. So it wasn't until the weekend where I'd have time to finally resume trophy hunting. Thankfully, I was only 3 trophies behind since I'd gotten a little ahead prior to the massive change at work. The game I decided to jump back into during the weekend was Call of the Sea. This game is a first-person puzzle game where we play as a character named Nora, who's going on an adventure to find her husband that's looking for a cure for her rare disease that Nora and her mother both have. This disease gives them spots on their skin that they call cheetah spots. Over the course of the game, we learn more about Nora and her husband, the things he was finding on the island, and discover why the game is called Call of the Sea. Overall, a really fun game that I definitely recommend to anyone that likes puzzle games.
Ported face. Those footprints definitely do not look human.
With how much I enjoyed Astrobot in this playthrough, I decided to try another short platform, A Tale of Paper. This was a really fun short platformer that took me about an hour and a half to beat. And you play as a piece of paper trying to make it into outer space. For what reason, I couldn't tell you. But over the course of the game, you travel through different biomes, platforming around the map, eventually getting power-ups like being able to turn to a paper ball to roll down tubes, or a paper airplane to make it across gaps. Overall, a really fun and enjoyable Platinum Trophy experience. Still needing to make up some time on games I was playing, and it being Sunday, I decided to try a shorter one named Cocoon. Now, I had picked up this game earlier when it was available on PlayStation Plus for free. Cocoon is a vibrant puzzle game where we play as a bug and you go through various levels trying to achieve metamorphosis. The game wasn't all that difficult, but it was a lot of fun with different collectible aspects. They have different colored baubles that allow you to go to different worlds, and you could put baubles inside of one another. I hadn't really played a ton of puzzle games until this challenge, but the ones that I have tried so far make me kind of think that I should be taking these a little bit more serious. After about 5 hours, I was able to get the platinum in Cocoon. After Cocoon was finished, I decided to try a slightly larger game, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. In this game, you play as Senua, who is struggling with psychosis and sees things in her mind that are not there. The whole game centers around her journey to come to terms with the loss of someone that she loved, while also trying to overcome, or at least understand, her mental health issues that she's having so she can have a better life and live with it. There were some genuine scary parts in this game, like having to walk through a pitch black cave with monsters that hear sound that could attack you. This sequence was pretty long too, so it wasn't like a quick run through and I'm done type of situation. For the platinum, it's mostly straightforward, but I did have to use a collectible guide as there's no way to go back and get the missing lore stones if you miss them. And some of them are in some pretty unique locations. Overall, I really love this game. Its display of mental health and how it can really impact people. This definitely made me want to purchase the second game next time that I see it's on sale. This platinum took me a little over 8 hours.
The final battle. Confront Hela. That's the platinum. Let's go. Done. Platinum done in one night. Good Lord. What a good game, man.
After finishing both Cocoon and Hellblade in a single day, I wanted to go after something a little more calming where I could just sit and turn my brain off. So I decided to play Twisted Metal. Back in the day, this was freaking epic to play with your friends, man. I'd sit there for hours playing it, so it was just good to revisit and play again. The platinum initially was a little difficult because I had to get reaccustomed to the jankiness of older games again. But once I got it down, it was pretty simple. The hardest trophy to get is to win the game with every single car. But there is a code that you can punch in to get to the final level to fight the boss again, sort of like a level select. So I'd punch in that code and just beat the game with every car after my initial full playthrough of it, and eventually after a little over 4 hours, got the platinum for a game that I'd played a ton as a kid.
There we go. That's the platinum, baby. Yes, that's the final one. We get the platinum. Man, that was a blast from the past. That was so much fun getting that trophy. Captain's Lament. And then we have Twisted Champion. Yeah, that was a blast from the past. I remember playing this game as a kid and freaking loved it, man. All I really played it as 2-player and had a blast. But that was a good reliving of an old classic.
I came home from work on day 18 and was greeted to no power. It was pretty great. They're doing construction in my neighborhood, so I'm assuming that they hit something because when I went to go submit the outage, it was affecting almost 300 homes near me. So I laid on the couch and binge watched Freerun for a second time on my phone. Another game that I've been wanting to do for this challenge was Spirit of the North. This game you play as a fox and run around collecting spirits in multiple different locations. The platinum in and of itself isn't hard, it's just longer to complete. On average 6 to 10 hours. And I was racing against time now. I was heading to see my fiance for the first time in a month for a trip to the Bahamas. Her mom had some health issues, fuck cancer, so she had been down there taking care of her. And I had been working so many hours that I couldn't take any time off. So I stayed up all night trying to get this done as I was packing for my trip for the Bahamas. The game overall is a blast, and I really love the art style. It kind of reminded me of Okami, which is basically like a wolf version of The Legend of Zelda. May have purchased that while I was playing Spirit of the North. Unfortunately, I was not able to get the platinum done before we needed to leave for our trip, but I had packed my portal in hopes of being able to play in the Bahamas. According to their website, the resort had high-speed internet, so I kept my fingers crossed that it could happen. Turns out the internet in the Bahamas is not very good. I could briefly load into my game, but it was so pixelated it was hard to tell what was even going on because of how blurry it was. Even still, I attempted to play Spirit of the North, but couldn't stay connected long enough to really do anything. We did have a fun trip though while we were there. When I was able to finally sit down on my PlayStation again after this trip, I earned the platinum for Spirit of the North pretty quickly for my 18th platinum.
Oh, Kindred Spirit. There we go. That should be the platinum. It should be Master of Light. There we go. Oh my god, we finally got that, dude. That was way longer than I thought it was going to be, but we got it.
Before going to bed, I wanted to try to get another short platinum done and found a game called Bridges and Docks, which is like an island simulator. You develop an island and you can build houses and bridges on it. Who would have thought? Well, you also can add animals and a number of other things as well to your island. The majority of this platinum is pretty simple. You simply just have to follow your quest missions, and there are a few grindy trophies like needing to build 50,000 blocks, but overall it takes about an hour and is a fun, simple platinum where you can build your own island.
Oh, there we go. That is going to be the platinum. Island Perfector. Let's go.
Being 5 platinums behind at this point in the game was really starting to get stressful, especially since the only time that I had left were work nights. And then on the weekend, my fiance would be returning home from caring for her mom, which meant that I needed to have the house in top shape if your boy wanted to still be in the land of the living. So I really needed to lock in if I was going to pull this challenge off. As the more I got behind, the more and more this was looking like it was going to be extremely difficult to do. That being said, I decided to pick another short platinum I had in my backlog, R.L. Stine's Goosebumps tie-in game for the movie. This is a little over an hour long to complete, and you have to help Jack Black's character, who I'm pretty sure voices every single person in this game, get out of a typewriter. Overall, it was a fun, short game that didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't the best game that I've ever played, but it was fun for the time duration that I needed to play it to get the platinum. Completing this earned me my 20th platinum, with 10 to go.
Electrifying. Complete test of tower level. Goosebumps All-Star. Let's go.
I decided to try to get another platinum before bed, and online I had seen Goat Simulator was a short 2-hour platinum trophy. And for the most part, it is. You do a bunch of easy tasks running around the map, knocking things over and blowing things up. Everything besides one trophy was simple, and that one trophy was Flappy Goat. This was quite possibly one of the worst trophies I've ever gone for. The hitbox for the goat isn't accurate at all, and there's so many times I got to 9 and would hit the final 10th block I needed to go under. I tried until about 3 a.m. and could not beat this damn Flappy Goat game, so I had to call it a night and would attempt it on the following day. As I was working this day from home, I tried to beat Flappy Goat during my breaks and lunch on my portal. I had absolutely zero luck with this damn game. It wasn't until after work when I could jump on my actual PlayStation where I was finally able to obtain this damn trophy and get the platinum.
Oh my god, we got it. Flatmaster. We finally did it, dude. Oh, the goat! Dude, literally waiting for a deal to come in right now. And I got the platinum. Let's go.
With the Goat Simulator done, I picked up a recommendation from a Trophy Hunter Discord I'm in. Shout out to Platin Adam for the recommendation. Venba. This game is a story about an Indian couple who leaves India to come to Canada for a different life where they could be together. It centers around family, culture, and remembering and celebrating where you're from as a person. I'm not gonna lie, this game made me call my mom when I finished it because it was just an absolute tearjerker, man. I 100% would recommend anyone play this game. It's short and easy to play through, but has a great story to tell if you're willing to listen to it. I started out day 27 with a game recommendation I got from Gifted Frog, and that's Moving Houses. This is a fun little game where you're packing up your house, and halfway through the game, everything changes. It's a game about grief and loss and dealing with it in the end. If I say too much more, it'll spoil it for you, but this one was worth picking up. I think I got the platinum in about 4 hours, which is longer than most people, but mainly because I had a weird glitch happen where one of my boxes blasted through a wall, and I couldn't complete the level about halfway through the game and had to restart. Turns out it's not a common glitch, but it has happened to other people as well. I seem to have quite a time with these game-breaking glitches this entire challenge, didn't I?
You finished the extra packing version of the game. Successful move. Here we go. Another platinum.
The next game I played was Insomnus. This game is an indie horror game where you inherit your grandfather's house, and you go through a number of puzzles to discover that he was performing some pretty bad experiments here that cause the horrors that you run into. It's fairly short, 2 hours with the collectible guide, or 4 if you play without one, and I definitely recommend it to anyone that enjoys a horror game that has puzzle elements.
There we go. Insomnus Project.
Day 28, this was actually my birthday, but also my fiance's birthday too. Yep, we share the same birthday. It's definitely a 0 out of 10, would not recommend. But with that said, I spent the majority of the day with her and didn't get a chance to play any games until we got home and were watching Netflix on the couch. Jusant is the game that I started playing when we sat down. It's a puzzle platforming game where you're in a world that water has disappeared from, and you're trying to climb up this giant mountain to find why it's disappeared. Along the way, you become friends with a little blue creature called a ballast, and for the most part, you just need to reach the end of the game and do some collectible cleanup. It was a really fun, shorter game to play, as I haven't really played any climbing-based games until this one, but I'm glad that I picked this one up. As the day continued, I picked up another game to play, Moons of Madness, which is a first-person cosmic horror game. We play this game on Mars and discover that humans have decided to graft DNA of human animals and plants with stuff on Mars. We could have thought that would have gone bad. You also discover more about your disappearance of your mother, how everything that is happening on Mars ties into your childhood and the things that you saw growing up. I think the game started off really strong, but then kind of lagged towards the end of it. It's short enough though, and in 2 hours I was able to earn another platinum. Now this next game is actually one I'm ashamed of playing. I'd really hoped that I wasn't going to have to use this emergency game, but time was getting close, and I needed to pull this one out of my hat. My friend, Peppa Pig. Now, I don't have kids, and I've never watched Peppa Pig, if I'm being honest with you. So I had no fucking clue what was going on here. But it was short and allowed me to get another platinum done in an hour, to bring my total to 27. Things were really getting down to the wire. I had 2 days left in this challenge and both of them were work days. So there was no weekend grind test where I could just sit down and really hammer home some games, which would have been nice. So I decided to pick some games I thought I could beat quickly. The first one I chose was Burly Minute C, which I was actually going to play on my PS Vita. This game was short but had 12 endings to get through. Thankfully, every playthrough only took about 15 to 20 minutes and it had a fun enough story. You play as 3 burly men and you go on an adventure with different things happening based on what you choose to do on the map. You can go with the mermaids or get ejected from a whale blowhole, or you can turn into a seal. There's so many different ways to go through the game. Overall, it was a really fun game and had a platinum I was able to get done in about 3 hours. There's the platinum. Giving some fist bumps. Poor beastie. You done it all. Man, that pops way faster on that than on PlayStation 5, huh? It was starting to get late, but I needed to make some progress on another game before going to bed. There was one on my list that was about 5 hours that I figured I could do most of before going to bed and then wake up early to grind out. That game is Witchcrafting. This is a Metrovania style game where you play as a witch trying to get rid of the evil in your forest. And for a graphic style like it had, the game was surprisingly difficult. I'm not sure what it was, but I had the hardest time on these levels. Between the awkward boss battles and the absurd amount of enemies that you could find in a single room that could just overwhelm you, I only made it to the second level before needing to go to bed at 4 a.m. So much for waking up early, huh? The final day of this challenge and still another work day. If I wanted to get this challenge done and actually take home 30 platinums in 30 days, I really was going to have to lock in today. I came home at lunch to play a little bit more Witchcrafty and was able to make it pretty far into the 3rd level. Then after work, I spent another 4 hours. Yes, you heard that right. 4 hours trying to get the platinum. It was about 10 hours in total for me to get Witchcrafty's platinum, making it about 9:45 p.m. I remember the time exactly because the game I had picked out for my final game was a 2-hour platinum. So I had 2 hours and 15 minutes to platinum a 2-hour game. So I really needed to get going. The final game in my challenge was Brothers Remastered. In this game, you play as 2 brothers where you can control each one independently, which made this experience really fun. And in a couple areas, like one where I was running from some enemies towards the end of the game, very clunky. The whole premise of the game is going on an adventure to get the water of life to help your dad because he's become very ill. As I was playing this, I kept watching the clock because timing was going to be very vital to the success of this challenge. And as I got to the back part of the game, the clock struck midnight, officially going past the 30-day mark. I did, however, finish the platinum an hour after my mark and get my 30th platinum, which was a huge accomplishment for myself. Would you guys say that I failed this, or would you give me some slack and say I completed it? And if it is a fail, what game should I platinum as punishment for failing this? Just a reminder, I do work about 12 hours a day right now, so unless you don't want to see another video from me for about 4 years, no games like Fortnite, Super Meat Boy, or Crypto the Necromancer. My ass just can't handle that right now. My next goal is going to be getting 100 platinums in this calendar year, and sitting at 31 by March is a great start. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like and please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to hit 1K subs and exclusively put out content about trophy hunting. Until next time, happy hunting.